Well, the Women's World Cup is reaching the latter stages, the business end, if you like, with the quarter-finals set to take place over the next few days. Myself, Tom McGarry and Aidan Perkins have had a look at all four games, had a bit of a betting angle look at things as well to see who we think might make it through to the last four and stand a chance of going on to win the World Cup. The first quarter-final we've had a look at is England against Norway, and Aidan, this is an interesting one for the Lionesses to see if they can make it through to a second successive semi-final.
Yeah, I mean, I think England were well fancied before a ball was kicked in the Women's World Cup to make it to the latter stages, and so far they seem to be building momentum nicely. Phil Neville's team have actually won all four games. I think the victory over Cameroon was overshadowed by the VAR incidents and some of the antics from the Cameroon players in the last game. But England just got on with the job and got a good victory. They've beaten Scotland, beaten Argentina as well in the build-up in the group game. So they're looking good, England. The one worry is they've got injury doubts over Steph Houghton and Millie Bright before the match. If those two aren't fit, then that might just hand Norway a bit of an advantage. I think England are good value favourites for the victory. I would expect them to get the job done and go through. Apparently it's going to be very hot in Valenciennes where the game is being played as well. So that could play a bit of a part. Might just not necessarily suit the England players that much, but they've got such quality. Jill Scott is a real key player for them. And I think England will get the job done, Tom. Second game we're going to look at then in terms of the quarterfinals for the Women's World Cup is Italy versus the Netherlands, Tom.
Yeah, another all-European affair. I think the Dutch have to be considered the favourites going into this one. You can get them at 6-10, and they're the reigning European champions, won all three of their group games to make it through to the knockout stages. Were a little bit lucky to make it through in the round of 16 against Japan, squeaking through 2-1 after a penalty was awarded in the 90th minute. Lika Martins, the 2017 FIFA Women's World Player of the Year, she scored that penalty, scored both goals in the match against Japan, in fact, and I think she'll play another key role in this game. Italy, this is their first World Cup appearance in 20 years, so they've done really well to make it through to the quarter-finals. Pretty decent result as well, beating China 2-0 in the last round. They're considerably ranked below the Netherlands, though, in the world rankings. And I think this will be a step too far for them. The Dutch will fancy their chances of making it through. And I think they have genuine aspirations of going on to win the tournament. So for me, I'd be looking at the Dutch to make it through, probably win the game actually by a couple of goals. Moving on to the third quarterfinal, and this is potentially the most eye-catching one as it involves host France taking on the defending champions, the United States. This could be a really standout game.
Yeah, I think the USA have been the standout team in the tournament so far. That 13-0 win over Thailand was a new World Cup record in terms of the men's and the women's World Cups. They've been outstanding, the USA, and I think before a ball was kicked, they were probably most people's favourites to win the tournament again. And they're not really letting anyone down so far, but I think this will be their toughest game against the hosts. France have proved their pedigree so far as well. USA have got Alex Morgan, who's a real key player for them, and they need to keep her quiet, France, if they're going to somehow get into the semi-finals. I don't see it, even though they've got home advantage, they've got the home support. I think there'll be a big crowd. I think USA will prove their quality. They'll probably be too strong again, and they'll make their way into the semi-finals. I just can't. I'd like to make an argument that France, with home advantage, can stop the USA, but I think the USA in women's football are such a powerhouse, and I think they'll go all the way eventually and win the tournament, actually. I mean, the odds reflect that 23-10 for France to get the victory, America 7-5, which I think is quite a good value, actually, for them to win the match, and that would be a good bet, I think, USA to win the match. 7-5. So that's the third quarterfinal. The fourth and final Women's World Cup quarterfinal is Germany versus Sweden, Tom.
Yeah, this one, similar to the France-USA game, I think there's an outstanding team to pick, and that would be Germany. They're the two-time World Cup winners and have qualified for every World Cup finals and usually get to the latter stages like they've done. Again, very similar to the German men's team in that regard, up against a Sweden side who have one or two decent players. Stina Blackstenius in particular is someone who could cause Germany problems, but I think it's difficult for Sweden. I think alongside Italy, possibly the weaker side left in the last day. Certainly one of the outsiders to go all the way. So I think Germany should get this job done, and that would set up a potential semi-final with the Netherlands, which we know there's a lot of history on the men's side of the game in that fixture, and it'll be another big game for those two teams. Germany, as you would expect, they're odds on to make it through in this one. The value would be with Sweden, but I find it very difficult to argue their case. For me, I think it'll be quite a comfortable German victory.
So that's the Women's World Cup quarterfinals. We think it'll be England, the Netherlands, USA and Germany that will make it through to the semi-finals. Don't forget to check us out on social media, and you can subscribe on YouTube.